Yo, Teal the Stat, Rail Raw and Uncut. We done teamed up. A podcast for the community, hard as an uppercut with that real news. Upside your headpiece, informing you with that real stuff. With the how, why, who wins and what's a reality, making it clear cut. Truth will set you free, unfiltered and no bluff, no fluff. You kid or rebut, don't be bewildered. Don't agree with the cause, great, you can speak up. Wednesdays at 8, hit the comments up, talk your stuff, set it straight. We learn more from each other in this information age. Institutions will leave you lost and awestruck. So listen up, you'll be compelled. Maybe you'll find yourself stuck on what you thought was real. But them gems I'm dropping on this program may just appeal to your appetite for info. This the intro to reveal. Get your info on YouTube for your fill. From AM to PM, it's popping, so sit back and chill. Nobody doing it like this man on this podcast. It's for real. It's Rail Raw and Uncut. Rail Raw and Uncut. Wednesdays at 8 AM.
All right. Whether you listening to this on your way to work, whether you're listening to this at work, or whether you're listening to this before you go to bed, this is another episode of the Rail Raw and Uncut podcast, and I'm joined with a special guest this week. I've known this guy for quite a long time. We've been trying to get this together for quite a long time too, but I was finally able to pull it off. Ray Maestro, aka Ray Della Torre, founder of No Cure No Rest Inc. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm happy to be on finally. You know, it hasn't worked out the last couple of weeks, but finally you made it happen, Captain. So I'm happy to be on. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm glad to be on.
Nah, no problem. We like I said, we've been trying to get this going for quite some time, but we got it going now, so now everything is good to go. But what's going on? How's everything? How's just life just going for you?
I mean, life is good, man. Just working. You already know. You know, I'm at I work at the school that when you was in high school was the biggest rival, Mount St. Michael Academy. But yeah, no, just gearing up for school. You know what I mean? I did summer school. That's over. We have regions coming up. You know, the summer regions. And then, I'm back to work tomorrow. Like I have my first admin meeting that starts the school year. Mm-hmm. So just getting back into the flow of things, getting the kids back up, spending time with my kids, and just gearing up.
All right, that's what's up. So let's get back. Let's just go all the way back. So, well, obviously, a lot of people don't know we know each other through the Lifestyle the Circuit, whatever the case may be. That's where we met.
Yeah.
But we've evolved past that in terms of like building a relationship outside of that. But how has it been being a teacher? You teach in high school, and how did you get to that point? And what made you choose that as the career?
Okay, so pretty much back in 2005. Okay, so I graduated SUNY New Paltz, all right, with a major in radio and TV production. My original plan was to work behind the scenes, cameraman, work my way up, be an on-air like newscaster, then use my popularity as being an on-air talent to run for public office. Obviously, that didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? I didn't go that route. So I graduated in 2003. Then someone told me, listen, the Archdiocese of New York was hiring. So I sent my resume. I filled out an application. Back then, 2005 was a lot more easier than it is now, obviously. You need a lot more things that I do have now, obviously, than back then. Sent the application fee. They sent me a list of schools. I applied. I got a call from Our Lady of Angels, from Sister Mary Clary. She interviewed me. And where anybody, when they interview, they always tell you, thank you. I have a couple more interviews. I'll give you a call, if anything. She called me the next day and, offered me the position, sixth grade homeroom and sixth, seventh, and eighth grade history teacher. Because I hate every other subject. So I hate English. I can teach it. I hate math. Math now I can't teach. Math back then, 1 + 1 is 2, right? 1 + 1 gives you 2, right? Now it's not like that. Science, I hate those subjects. History, I actually like history because it always evolves. Like, even though we know what happened, there's always something that led to it that changes, and it's always being something rediscovered. So I became a history teacher. I taught there for 4 years, Our Lady of Angels off of Claflin Avenue, like literally across the reservoir from Lehman College. Okay. So I was there for 4 years, and then they downsized. So anybody knows, first one in, last one in, first one out. You know what I mean? So I was downsized with another teacher. The school. This is the archdiocese, I guess, was going through a transition. They were closing schools, and enrollment was dropping rapidly. But tuition in schools was going up. Go figure, right? So I landed in St. Rosa Lima. So St. Rosa Lima, all right, landed there with Miss Santiago, a principal. She hired me for 5th grade position. So I taught there 3 years first, all subjects, a self-contained 5th grade class. And then I was there another 3 years, 6th through 8th, doing religion and history. So I was there for 6 years. So then I decided I wanted to move on. So before that, Our Lady of Angels closed. Like they announced a bunch of schools closing, and Our Lady of Angels, my first school, closed. So I sent my resume to your alma mater, Cardinal Hayes. I sent it to Mount St. Michael because even though my school wasn't downsizing, like I felt like being in elementary school was the minor leagues. I wanted to go up to the majors, which I considered working in high school. Working with kids that I can give my experience to more, that will understand it, like going to college, what the experience is going to be like, try to, drop them that knowledge on them. So when they go to college, they know what to look out for, what to expect, and what to stay away from. So I applied to Cardinal Hayes. I interviewed, they didn't hire me, of course. They didn't hire me. I guess they couldn't see the talent in front of them. You know what I'm saying? But
they're not exactly the most perfect high school, but just pretty close.
Good one. So then I interviewed Mount St. Michael, the principal, current principal, my boss now. Interviewed me for those of you who do not know, Mount St. Michael is a 6 through 12 school. So it has a middle school component, a middle school inside a high school. So he had originally interviewed.
What's crazy?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
Was just a straight high school.
No, it's a 6 through 12. Yeah, it's been like that forever. So interviewed. It was originally for a middle school position, but I had told them I want history. I want high school. That if I wanted to stay in middle school, I wouldn't be trying to leave the school that I was currently at. So a week later, they offered me the position. I accepted tentatively, and then he called me back and said, "We want to offer you 9th grade, global history." And I was like, "Yes, I'm taking it." Then I had to go to my school, tell my principal, Ms. Santiago, give her my letter of resignation. What came out of that is that my cousin got hired there. So I left. My cousin got, I was a plug for my cousin, so he got a job there. Sad to say, though, that school ended up closing a few years later. Because, again, the archdiocese closed a lot of schools and so on and so forth. All right, so I'm here at Mount, 4 years, doing global studies, running clubs, student council. I was a JV coach. I mean, not JV coach, sorry, junior high school basketball coach. And, 2 out of 3 years I coached, I won back-to-back CSBA championships. You know what I mean? That was awesome. And then one of the assistant principals decided that, he didn't want to, be assistant principal anymore. He wanted to go into the counseling section of Mount St. Michael. So he decided to step down. So that opened up. And I applied with 8 other faculty members because we try to hire from within first. Before we go outside, want to hire from within, give us a shot. I went, I beat out 8 other individuals, and now I'm the assistant principal. So I'm going on my 9th year at Mount, my 5th year as assistant principal, and my 19th year overall in education. So I'll knock on wood for that to keep going. So it's challenging, but you gotta love what you do, man. You gotta love what you do. You gotta be able to connect. I got all the credentials. I got my master's. Like I said, through all those transitions of being downsized and moving on, got my master's. I am certified. I could work for the Board of Ed. I've gotten calls by the Board of Ed, and I turned down jobs because I never did feel the calling. Like, my calling is at Mount still. Like, I'm still needed there. We all have a higher calling and a higher purpose. And right now, I'm still at Mount because, I can, again, in the public schools, especially in New York City, the grass is definitely greener when it comes to money. But if I'm not happy, you can make all the money in the world. If you're unhappy, man, that's, that money don't mean nothing. So I'm going into my 19th year in Catholic education, 19 years. And I'm a public school product. I went to public school. So that's where I'm at right now, brother.
Assistant principal. So, okay. So as a teacher, right? As a teacher, especially going into 9th grade and teaching kids who just literally came out of, if you want to call it, elementary school and right into high school, because honestly, it's a different transition. When you're in 8th grade, or at least from my point of view, or from my perspective, when you're in 8th grade, you're usually at the top of the class. And then you go to high school, and then you're a freshman, and it's like your lower class. So it's an adjustment for a lot of people. How do you manage to keep the kids? How did you manage to keep the students engaged? How did you manage to keep the students excited about wanting to come back to your class? Because you being younger too. I know when I was in high school, we had a younger teacher that just started out. And I think Hayes was like his first year, like as being a teacher in the high school. And I can be honest with you, our class probably demolished him mentally. There was times I remember him throwing chairs in the classroom because he was frustrated. So how did you be able to keep the kids engaged, and how did you be able to keep the class under control?
Now, here, and I will say this. I've had moments like that, like you mentioned, never throwing chairs because you lose your job for that. Like that's, never got to that point. But being young, again, I had 10 years already in the game. So I had taught some, not those kids in particular, but I had taught these kids that graduated 8th grade going into high school. You get what I'm saying? So the connection was already there. You got to find something that can connect you with the students. I always tell my students, we're not friends. Rels, me and you are friends. We've been through a lot. We've seen a lot. We've done a lot. We are friends. Me and my students are not friends. We are peers, me and you. We are peers. They are not my peers. They are my students. And I'm going to love them like I love my son, or I'm going to love my little nephew. And that's where you have to, one is you have to make sure you let them know the line in the sand, who you are and who they are in respect to your classroom. They are the student. They are there to learn. It's not always going to be fun. It's not. Because again, you can make history, but so much fun. Especially there's parts of history that are boring as hell. And I tried to make it as fun as possible. But sometimes it is what it is. Because you got to teach what the curriculum is. And then sometimes you got to delve outside of the box to give them that real history that obviously, in Florida, they trying to cancel. You know what I mean? What was going down there with saying you can't teach certain stuff. If it's not in the book, you can't teach it. All right? You got to connect with your students. Listen, I lived in the projects most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I was from a broken home. A lot of our kids are from broken homes.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're in Catholic school doesn't mean that your home is great.
And
A
that's
lot
the
of people
thing
tend to
too.
think that.
And that's the thing too, because for me growing up, I lived in the projects and still do, right? Growing up
Hmm.
and going to high school, I went to high school with a lot of people a lot of people from my area went to Hayes, which is crazy when you really think about it. But the people, those who go to those who go to public school, have this perception that because you go to Catholic school, you have money, you come from money, not realizing that our parents work hard to put us through this. And at the
Hmm.
same time, there are a lot of students who went when I was in Hayes, there were a lot of students who went to school that was there on sponsorships.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't realize that. Like, it's funny because on my route, on one of my old routes in my job, I delivered to a customer of mine, and he had a Cardinal Hayes alumni thing. So me, I see him. I actually got to see him. I'm like, oh, so
Of
you went to
course.
Hayes? Like, and I was like, I graduated from there. And he was like, no, I didn't go there. I actually sponsored one of the students who went there. So I'm like, oh, see what I'm saying? So it's like the perception of us going to Catholic school does not mean we come from money. Because when I went to Hayes, tuition was 300. At the time was 300 when I first went. And when I graduated, it was 360. At last time that I seen it, it was well over $1,000. That's a lot of money. There's no way my mom would have been able to put me through Catholic school now. The times is different. But like I said, the perception of, oh, you go to Catholic school must mean you have money. It's not the case. A lot of people, like you said, like I said, a lot of people got there through sponsorships. And a lot of people got there through just other means of getting there. But like, it's not easy. It's not easy. Going to school is not easy.
No,
So,
listen, scholarships, sponsorships, playing sports. You know
mhm,
what I mean? Academics. You know what I mean? Like nowadays, a lot of these kids are coming from the South Bronx to Mount, coming
mhm,
from Yonkers, coming from Riverdale, coming from New Rochelle, coming from. I have a student who comes from Ossining right now because
really.
and not to toot Mount Horn, but people are coming to Mount because they hear about the quality of the education. But
Mhm,
parents are putting their kids more. I mean, in Catholic schools, because the environment or the perception of the environment is the safer route.
mhm,
You know what I mean? Like I have kids who come from Eden Wall houses. I have students. I've dropped off students who live in Eden Wall, right across the street from the precinct. You get
The
what I'm
per-
saying? Like
the
so.
the perception of that is not true either, because although you may think being in Catholic school is safe, you still got to get there.
Oh yeah, no, of course. No. I'm just saying, like nowadays, people put them in there for that. And here's another perception that a lot of people think because when we do orientations with parents,
Mhm,
like I've and being AP, you got to deal with kids who are saying they're getting bullied, right? Now again, that word has such heavy like weight on it. When you
mhm,
say bullying, you know what I mean? Like if I say, Rose, yo, you ugly, and I never say that to you again, then you go around saying, yo, I bullied you. I
mhm,
only said it to you once. Bullying is continuous, it's deliberate, and it's all the time.
mhm.
And a lot of times is, again, kids are kids. I'm friends with you today, and then I'm not friends with you tomorrow, and then 3 months from now, we're friends again.
Yep.
So I get a call like, oh, this is Catholic school. My son should have to go through this. Well, listen, wake up. It happens everywhere. It happens in the poorest of neighborhoods and in the richest of neighborhoods and
Mhm.
everywhere in between.
Yep.
All right, where people are bullied or feel that they've been bullied or they feel that their son hasn't been treated a certain way and so forth. So I let parents know, listen, something like that is going to happen. Your son is not going to be friends with somebody for whatever reason, but we're going to get past that and we're going to act in a manner where we get through it and bring people together to talk about it. But just because we're a Catholic school doesn't mean, again, yes, you have kids who come with this pre-connotation of parents who think that stuff doesn't happen in Catholic schools that happen in public schools. Not on the scale. I will admit that, not on the scale
Mhm.
that stuff may happen in a public school. You know, like the stuff you see, there's like I forgot the Instagram page where kids are just waiting outside and then rumbling in front of a school.
Mm-hmm.
or kids just shooting at each other outside of a school. That by the grace of God, has never happened outside of Mount since I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? And there is, like I said, parents say they send their kids to Catholic schools because they feel safer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But again, they still got to walk through those same buildings. They still got to walk through those same projects, those same streets, take those same buses, take those same trains to get to, our respective Catholic schools that you went to and that I work at.
Mm-hmm. Because for me going to Hayes, I had to take the 41 to 149th and 3rd, which is busy as hell in the morning at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. And then from there, have to take either the 2 or the 5 up to the concourse or take the 19 up to the concourse. So either way you look at it, I'm still encountering thousands of people in the morning where anything can happen. First of all, and then on top of that, I'm a kid in high school with a uniform on. I'm already kind of looked at as a target if you really think about it. So, like it's being in Catholic school seems like a safe place to be in, and for the most part it is, but nobody really thinks about what it takes to actually get there on a daily basis. You say it's so I got a 2-part question for you when it comes to the school.
Right.
The hardest being an assistant principal.
What's the hardest part about what? Repeat that? You broke up for a second.
What's the hardest part about being what's the hardest part about being a teacher?
Uh-huh.
What is the hardest part about being an assistant principal?
All right, so getting the phone. Being a teacher, nothing really. Like for being a teacher, one of the hardest things was the two I thought I never would encounter. A kid, coming and saying that they were abused, or a student dying. You know what I mean? And thank God I never had to deal with having to report anything or a case of abuse. But I did have a student who died when I taught in Our Lady of Angels. Like he went away for a long weekend. When we came back, my principal called me in the office. This is when Pope Benedict had visited the city back in 2008, I believe. And, it was a long weekend. And I took a bunch of students actually to see him up in St. Joseph Seminary in Yonkers. So I get back, it was a Saturday, bring the kids, they all got picked up. So my principal calls me to her office, and I'm like, what? One of these students said, like, yo, like, what? And she tells me, like, one of my students passed away. And, I was crushed, bro. Like, it was, like I said, he was in my class. It wasn't like a student who moved on to the next grade or graduated. It was someone in my class that is not there anymore. So I never thought I would have to face something like that. And that happened. So that, as a teacher, and again, you want the students to buy in. You want them to buy in on, what you're doing. If the kids don't respect you, it's over. It is over. And I've seen teachers, first-year teachers, they try to be friends. They try to be boys. And year 2, they're done. Because you can't be that way. You have to set the tone. You got to let them know, this is your classroom. You're not there to be a bully or anything. This is your classroom. What your job is, what you're paid for, is to educate. Your job is to educate them, be partners with their parents as well. You know what I mean? So that's where I think a lot of I see teachers fail, is dealing more with the student than getting the parent involved. You know what I mean? So that's the part about the teaching part. Now, being an assistant principal, it's twofold. You have to deal with parents and students, and you have to deal with them different ways. It's not in the classroom anymore. Once it comes to your plate, it's a lot bigger than something that just happens in a classroom. So you have to navigate that while trying to be fair and just as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then dealing with teachers.
Mm.
Because now you are an authority figure, not just for the students, but also for teachers now that you were co-workers with. Now you're looked at as, you are, I'm walking into teachers' classrooms, because I can.
So now,
You
so
know?
it's almost like you got to treat the teacher the same way you treat the students. In a way.
Well, not exactly, but yes, you go in and they get a little more careful of what they're doing or what they're saying when you walk in. When you're just walking in, just to walk in, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
not there to observe you, I'm not there to write anything down. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just there because, like, I'm like my principal. He likes to walk around the building, and I put in tens of thousands of steps
Mm-hmm.
walking around my building because if I'm always in my office, I'm not doing my job.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be a presence because that's how the kids get to know you. And when the kids get to know you, they're less inclined to do something that's out of pocket. You build what my principal likes to say, social capital.
Mm-hmm.
You build that relationship with those students, and they're going to be less inclined to do something. And if they do, they're going to be very apologetic about it and try to correct it themselves before
Mm-hmm.
you have to get involved. And I've had that. And I've saved many students from being suspended. You know what I mean? Because I feel like, listen, if a kid gets suspended, like this is going to be the breaking point for them. So you try to navigate and maneuver that where there's a penalty, but again, you feel that kid is worth saving. And a lot of my kids are worth saving. So again, how you deal with the students and parents, and again, how you deal with teachers, because you have to deal with them. And when they're not doing their part, like I said, if I got to check a student, I'm gonna check a student.
Mm-hmm.
Now I got to check an adult now, who is, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I mean, it's a tiring job, but it's a never ending one as well.
I love my job, and it's a slippery slope. But I wake up every day and I do it, 150%. My principal tells me I left my mark on my junior high school, and I always give props to my teachers. Like my junior high school didn't always have a great reputation,
Mm-hmm.
but now like I have great teachers that do their thing. And listen, I don't have to pop in the classrooms anymore. Like I just stand outside the classroom and you hear the teaching going on in these rooms, and you're like, yeah, I can just walk on by. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. All right, so we got the education part out the way now. It's a very, I think, I wanted to interview you at the beginning. The whole point of the interview was to talk about profit.
Yes.
But in the terms of all of that, I totally forgot about the part of you being in the education system, and I think it is also to have you on here to talk about the nonprofit because we're about to get to it in a second. I think you talking about the education and how you handle education, I think that was a very important thing to talk about as well. So now that we got the education part out of the way, we can talk about now your nonprofit. Your nonprofit is called No Cure No Rest. You can tell the viewers and the listeners now about the nonprofit and how it started and what was the whole point of starting it.
All right. So the idea for my nonprofit came about I want to say about 2010, 11, 2012, the exact date. And then it came to fruition, in 2022, where you ever heard the proverbial saying, put your money where your mouth is?
Yes.
So, start a nonprofit, it's not as easy. If you want it done correctly, you have to spend money.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not just fill out some papers and wham bam, thank you, man. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it that if it's not done correctly, you can end up paying later on.
Mm-hmm.
So hence No Cure No Rest. So why I decided to go with No Cure, No Rest, it has to do with HIV and AIDS awareness. I've had many family members, well, my aunt mainly, succumb to the disease. You know what I mean? Complications from AIDS. My uncle, friends of my mother from Red Hook, Coney Island, you know, friends of mine that I grew up with had, you know, most of their family wiped out from it, you know, and it hit close to home. It hit close to home. And this is something that, you know, again, from when my aunt passed, it was something embedded in me that I watched. You know what I mean? I watched her wither and die. You know, and I always wanted to do something. There's nothing I can do about it. Now I can. You know, raise awareness, raise some funds. You know, do what I can. Use my platform. And yeah, that's where it came. No cure, no rest. I mean, the moniker is in there. Until there's a cure, there cannot be no rest. You know.
That's I think it's very important that you know that this is talked about, because I think growing up, at least in my age group, growing up, this was known as a disease that can kill you.
Yes.
And nowadays, there's so much medicine that you can end up being undetected, and you can live long, healthy lives. And I think it's no longer the perception of if you have AIDS or if you have HIV, you're going to die right away. And I hate the fact, because I mentioned this, I was talking about this with a guest on one of my previous podcasts. I hate the perception that if you have HIV or if you have AIDS, it's because you're homosexual. Like, I hate the perception of it in many ways. And I think a lot of people don't. In my opinion, a lot of the younger generation only sees it as a homosexual disease, because that's the way they perceive it on TV. When you have all of these different medicines for it, it's always two guys or it's always two girls, and I truly with passion hate that perception, because of the simple fact that it's not that way. Like, it's not the way the world works, but it's the way the world tries to perceive it. So, with it being so close to home for you with family members of yours, I commend you for starting this nonprofit, because you took it head on pretty much, and you I guess you can say you kind of paved the way for it, because at the end of the day, there's not a lot of people who talk about it. There's not a lot of people who have these nonprofits. There's not a lot of people who are even comfortable with talking about family members who have it, or just in that general. So, like I said, I commend you for that, because it takes a lot for someone to just come out and just be like, you know, I've had members and I decided, and you didn't have to do this because I'm pretty sure it has reached a lot more people than just family members.
Yeah. So just to piggyback on what you said before, you know, there was always that stigma that it was a gay disease.
Yes.
All right. Again, from the early on to, you know what I mean, it was a gay disease, and if you got it, it was a death sentence. It was a death sentence because nobody really knew the medications. A lot of people stopped taking the medications because you're talking about medications that were like horse pills. You know, if you ever taken like multivitamins, they come really huge. Like, you know, imagine trying to take 8 of those every 8 hours or whatever. So people stopped taking it, and it was a death sentence back then because people were not taking care of themselves. Now we've gotten to the point where, again, like you said, you can be undetectable. The difference between then and now, right, besides the advancements in medication, so yes, people are living healthy lives, probably healthier than me and you. All right? All right? And I consider myself somewhat healthy, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, people who have HIV and AIDS now, some of them are living one of the most healthy lives out there now. Piggybacking off what we said again about the medication out there, you see the commercials for PrEP, because I see them PrEP and PEP, where it always shows, hear me out, a transsexual, 2 guys, or a couple of color as the primary people. Now, again, and I learned this a few months ago. Someone has HIV, right? Okay, you have it. You find out you have it. You start taking medications, right? Your T cells are a certain number. As the infection goes from HIV to AIDS, your T cells drop. Once you get below 200, you are now classified by the medical community as having full-blown AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having full-blown AIDS in the 80s, you were dead.
Yes.
Full-blown AIDS in the 90s, you were dead. Full-blown AIDS, I want to say partially half of the 2000 to 2010, probably dead. From 2005 on, obviously now it's a lot different. Medication is different again. And then you can go from having 3 T cells, start changing your life, doing, eating right, exercising and so forth, and you can get your T cells back over 200 to become undetectable from someone who is diagnosed now with AIDS, full-blown AIDS, hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
Be undetectable now, but you will still be classified as having AIDS. They don't reclassify you.
So basically, over 200 T cells, you have HIV. Under
Yes.
200 T cells, you have full-blown AIDS.
Yes.
But you can go back over 200, but they won't reclassify you as HIV.
No, because again, when you have HIV, you can get services,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think back then it was offered more because I think life expectancy was so much shorter.
Yes.
So when you have full-blown AIDS, a lot more is offered. There's a lot of help out there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're classified as full-blown AIDS, services open up. There's services out there for those who have AIDS compared to someone who has HIV.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't get reclassified, and that's my chain of thought of why they don't reclassify you.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I digress. Whatever the reason is, but you can go back to being healthy, undetectable. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So now, for my nonprofit, we're about raising awareness, but it's about knowing your status. That is an important component that my nonprofit is starting to get more into now.
Mm-hmm.
Is providing tests to the community. Because, again, like I said, 25 years ago was a death sentence. Now you can live a healthy life if you know. If you don't know your status, forget about yourself. You can spread it to others.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know your status, at least you can say, if I know my status, okay, now I can go get treatment. Now I can be healthy. And now I can be undetectable where you can't spread it. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If you're undetectable, you can't spread it. According to the doctors and so forth and studies, you can't spread it that way. Do I say go out and practice unsafe practices? No, still don't do that because there's no cure. Yes, I know we may have heard that 5 people were cured of HIV through some I forgot, some bone marrow or something like that. They had cancer and none of them have HIV. That's 5 people out of 36 million who have died and the 22 million who are still living with the disease.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do the numbers. The numbers don't add up. 5 people been cured of HIV have not been cured of AIDS. You know what I mean? So I think people are still thinking that there's this a veil of invincibility. And as well as we had COVID blanketed everything. Everything got pushed to the side.
Yep.
And as if HIV and AIDS wasn't pushed to the side already because the ways you can catch it, sex, whether it be heterosexual or homosexually, or drug use, because you rarely get it now as a blood transfusion,
Mm-hmm.
or drug use. You're doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing. So guess what? You got it. It's your fault. So we're not going to talk about it because there's nothing to talk about. You made the decision. Live with it.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't be that way, but society is like that. So it got pushed to the side. So with my organization, No Cure, No Rest brings it back to the forefront. World AIDS Day every day.
Mm-hmm.
Not just on December 1st, not just during the AIDS walk, every day. Because when my organization, we raised $2,283 for the AIDS walk. Okay, we were ranked in the top 100, 98, I believe. For a first year nonprofit, we raised $2,283 for the AIDS walk, ranked 98 out of 500 organizations. Blessing. At that walk, I was yelling, "It's great that we're here today. What are we doing tomorrow? What are we talking about tomorrow? Are we still talking about HIV and AIDS, or are we going to wait a week before the AIDS walk? Then we start seeing commercials. And then not AIDS walk, World AIDS Day. Then we start talking about it again. And then after that, wait until a couple of weeks before the walk. And then we start talking about it again. And everything in between, we just, it is what it is. It's just there. No, it's not there. No cure, no rest. We got to keep on pushing, and it's an uncomfortable topic. People don't want to talk about it. It makes people uncomfortable, but if you don't know, like our kids, 15 to 21 years old are still being affected at an alarming rate. Mm-hmm. We have all the information out there, but they're still testing positive, and they're still spreading it in our communities because we don't want to talk about it. And nobody wants to get a test. Listen, I tabled that Senator Bailey on 233rd. All right, I had a whole table with pamphlets and even what was offered testing offered by Argus Community. Shout out to Argus. Nobody wanted to get tested. Everybody's like, "Oh, I know I don't have it." How do you know if you haven't taken the test? But that's where we're at with this.
That's also the fear of not wanting to know.
Yeah, of course.
If you're reckless, you don't want to know. And like you said, a lot of people think it can't happen to them, and sadly, those are the ones that it does happen to.
Listen. Everybody says Magic Johnson has a cure. Magic Johnson has AIDS. He has money where he can get the best health care, the best medications out there. He is not cured of it. He's not cured of it. By the grace of God, he didn't pass it on to his wife, Cookie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Back then, when the stigma was like, people didn't even want to play basketball with him. Yeah. The whole thing now where you get a cut in the NBA, they stop the game real quick and clean every shit up.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize.
It's all right.
But you know what I mean? Like, they clean it up real quick now. Like, it's like bandage you up. You got to be out the game. We got to check everything and so forth. But that didn't exist until Magic Johnson came out with it. But you had Eazy-E, Greg Louganis, Charlie Sheen, Rock Hudson. The list goes on and on and on and on and on of people who had it who are still living.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't find a magic pill that the government has, because a lot of people, the government did this. Listen, it's here. It ain't going nowhere. Hasn't gone anywhere since 79. It ain't going anywhere anytime soon. So it's up to people like you, it's up to people like me to spread the education, even when people don't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
As much as they don't want to hear it, we're out there. No Cure, No Rest is going to be out there. Which I was able to get 100 of these. These are rapid oral swab HIV tests.
Mm-hmm.
My organization is able to provide it. I want to shout out Peng Yang Khan. They donated the money that I needed to buy 100 test kits that I'm going to be out there in the community, in your community, because we live in the same community, and offering testing. It's only 100, but you know what? I'll probably be done with these in 2 years, because a lot of people don't want to get tested. Because like you said, if I don't know, ignorance is bliss sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ignorance is bliss. So if I don't know, you can't blame me for something I give you.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know.
You sound so stupid when you
didn't know. And that's the ignorance of it. So we're going into the testing. We're calling this campaign Know Your Status. Because if you know, this is where knowing your status is vital to stopping the spread of it. There is no cure. We're not on the verge of a cure. But if we can slow the spread of it and stop the spread of it, that's how we get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's not as simple as wearing a mask. Like when they said with COVID, look, wear a mask, you stop the spread of it. You know what I'm saying? But if you know your status, that's it goes a long way. And people are just afraid. And in this day and age, we shouldn't be afraid of that anymore. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, yes. Because it's not a death sentence. You can live a fruitful life. You can have many kids that it will not pass on to. You could have a fruitful, sexual, healthy relationship with your partner if they're not infected and not pass it on to them. As long as you know your status and you're doing right by taking medications and your treatments or whatever else it costs for it, and not doing anything risky, so to speak, you can be good, But it's about having that conversation and being out there.
Yep, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. So I'm going to ask you this last question because I usually ask this to all the people who are on my show. If you could tell yourself as a teenager something you would, if you could tell yourself now what you could have told yourself as a teenager, what would it be?
Buy stock in Amazon.
I mean, yeah, that is true.
Take $500 and buy stock in some stupid ass arrow pointing A to Z.
If you really think about it,
I'd be like Jeff Bezos or whatever his name is.
If you really think about it, like when we grew up in an era where all of this stuff was we could have really afforded it and probably been living off of it now if we knew how to handle it.
No, but real talk, if I can go back, I would go back maybe a year before my aunt gets infected. And maybe tell myself, you need to tell her to stop what she was doing that caused her to get infected. But maybe, I'm sure you're into Marvel and so forth, right? DC, sometimes things just have to happen if cause and effect. My aunt passes away. I watch. It devastates me. It has such a profound impact on me that I create this nonprofit. Years later, my aunt never dies. Maybe there is no cure, no rest. And maybe the effect is not, nothing happens that will have that effect on me that makes me watch and see and want me to help.
Everything has its own timing, has its own place, has its own reason. So like you said, you're pretty much carrying on her legacy through your nonprofit.
Yeah.
And that's the best way you can honor someone. You're no cure. It's literally no rest until you find a cure.
Exactly.
And the funny thing is that even when you find a cure, there's still no rest because the work still needs to be done. There's still work to be done. So,
yes, there is. So out there, man. We listen. We out there. I'm gonna do some cheap plugs. Can I plug some cheap stuff?
As I was closing out, I was going to tell you what do you need to let you listen.
Okay,
let me work my magic first.
Go ahead, bro. This is your show. Sorry, my guy.
Where can people find you, and what can people look for you? Okay,
so we have a website. All right, www.nocurenorrestinc.org. Right, you see all the work we have done, the iterations of my logo, to what it was to where it is from 2012 to 2022. The work that we've done, again, we've done toy giveaways, not drives, toy giveaways that we partnered with Toys for Tots, officially Toys for Tots. We partnered with Greek organizations to do domestic violence walks at Mount St. Michael on the track, which we're doing another one in October. I'll send you the flyer when I have it.
Absolutely.
We've done AIDS Walk fundraisers. All right. We've sponsored toys for a shelter out in Queens. We're partnered with the LBGQ plus community out in Camden for a walk. Like we sponsored it. You know what I mean? Like my names are not on flyers because we just were there. We helped sponsor. You know what I mean? So like we're integrated into so much. We partnered with social clubs, in the circuit, in the set, to give food away and also hygiene kits. All right. but we still have more that we're gonna do as we get closer. In September and October, we're gonna go out to the streets again and give out hygiene kits to the homeless and food as well. We also have a sorry, I'm just going back to where you can find us. So you can find us on our website. You can find us on Instagram. Add us at nocurenorest.inc. We do No Cure No Rest talk, which is something like this, about 10 to 15 minutes, just talking about what we're doing and why we get every month. We're gonna talk about HIV and AIDS, whether you like it or not. And those are the two places. Again, our website. We have a fully functioning website, a donation button there as well. And we are 100% tax deductible. So if you make a significant donation, you know what I mean, it's a write-off. Whereas some organizations, you can't get a write-off. My organization is a 100% 501c3, as stated by the IRS, in accordance with the IRS. As tax deductible, you can write off a donation. So people who have donated, Pena and Khan for my kids, I'm giving them a letter. That's a tax write-off. You know what I mean? So those are the two places where you can find us. And on LinkedIn as well, No Cure No Rest. On LinkedIn, you can find us on Facebook. We have a page, No Cure No Rest Inc. on Facebook. So we have a small presence on social media. 160 followers. Hopefully, people who follow you can follow, No Cure No Rest.
I'll put it out there.
At No Cure No Rest .inc. Because there's another No Cure No Rest, but I don't want us to be confused.
Okay. Now I'll put what I'll do is on my regular page and on my uncut page, I'll put that link there so that people can follow the page.
I appreciate it, bro. It's all public. You don't need me to approve it. Just follow it. See the work that we're doing. And the proof is in the pudding. We have a back to school giveaway with two great organizations. Your fellow Hayes friend, Joker, from Solo Palmahente Community Outreach Inc., as well as Cocoa Puff. You know her very well, right?
Yes,
both
sir.
Both Sides of the Violence Inc.
Yes.
They have both been influential in bringing me along because they both have been doing this nonprofit for quite some time. And they invited me into that circle with them. That now we have worked together on numerous events. And our latest one is on August 22nd at the Bronx Action Center on 1826 Arthur Avenue. We're going to be giving away up to 300 book bags filled with supplies that, I was able to get donations from a law firm, Schumann and Hill, as well as Oriental Trading, Uniball Pens. Being a nonprofit opens up doors, and hopefully I'm saying here for the first time, I'm going to be participating in what is called Nonprofit of the Night during a net game. So I'm going to be, having some tickets that, we could talk offline, you know what I'm saying? You might be interested.
Yeah.
But Nonprofit of the Night where, my nonprofit is going to be put on center stage in front of 17,000 net fans, as well as radio to the people who listen to the Nets. So I'm excited about that happening, and that might be in December. I got to just do some things here and there, but those are the things coming up. When I have stuff, I'll shoot it to you, Rels. You know what I mean? But no cure, no rest now.
All right. I got a question. How would you feel about possibly doing maybe like a charity basketball game?
Listen, if you can get the people, I can get the gym. I mean, you may not like it, but Mount Kai is one of the best facilities in New York City. So if you're okay, you're not going to burn up when you go in there and you see the Bulls.
Listen. I know it's enemy territory. I get that, but it would be for a good cause. I can definitely get the players. We could talk more about it offline, but I could definitely get the players, and we can set up a day. Maybe I don't know, like a Sunday. I don't know. We could figure it out, and
we can raise some money for my nonprofit. We can do it. Whatever trophy, trophies, all that.
I'm all for doing something for that. I definitely will put that out there. And we could definitely talk about that because I know for a fact people will definitely come out for a good cause like that, and we can definitely, make a nice day out of it, and put some more awareness to your nonprofit.
Yo, ball for cause.
Hey, look, there you go. We'll definitely talk about that more. But thank you for being a guest on the show. I greatly appreciate it. I know it took a while for us to get here, but we made it happen. So
you standing me up all the time, Beat. I was going to sleep early. You text me, yo. I would be like, yo, I'll send you mad messages. No response. I go to sleep early, man. I'm 43 years old.
This is exactly why I said, yo, let's kind of try to do this earlier. When I thought about it, I was like, yo, let's try. I get it.
Yo, 8:31. After you said you didn't respond, 8:31. I was already in bed. So you texted me at 8:45. I was already in bed with my mask on, sleeping. Like
I feel you. Bro, I understand. Definitely. But definitely we'll discuss that. We'll try to set that up. But once again, like I said, thank you for being a guest on the show. I greatly appreciate it. Is there anything you want to say before we sign out?
Listen, people get tested. All right, it's not a gay disease. Everybody gets this disease. In order to stop the spread, you need to know if you have it or not. Knowing is better than not knowing. No more can we say ignorance is bliss. Because if you have it and you didn't know you have it and give it to somebody, it is your fault that you gave it to them. Okay? But if you know you have it, you can get treatment and you can live a fruitful life. It's not a death sentence anymore. And people don't get turned away as they did before.
Mm-hmm.
People are more open-minded about it. Again, there's still stigma out there, but it's a lot more different than it was then. So know your status and be safe, everybody. No kill, no rest. Thank you, Rouse.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate you, man. Have a good night and you enjoy.
All right, my brother.
All right, definitely.
Bro, this is Raw and Uncut. Bro, serving them Raw and Uncut.